Good evening, everybody. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Kerr, and it's true I'm no longer the senior warden here. I've been replaced by Herb Modas, who's our new senior warden sitting in the back there. But I still have the honor of being our outreach chairman, and I'm here tonight on behalf of our church and our priest for all the time and our congregation. Normally when I get up here I speak by myself, but today I'm accompanied by a frog in my throat, who I've called Hermit, and that's why I'm wearing a green suit, if you wonder why I'm wearing a green suit. So it's my privilege and my pleasure to welcome you here to our monthly concert series. I realize some of you are maybe here for the first time, see these two wonderful guitarists, but we do these every month. And we call them, it's the Saturdays at 6 concert series. And sure enough, every time we have one, someone calls me up and says, what time is the Saturdays at 6 concert? So it's going to remain at 6 o'clock. So you may have noticed in the back of the little concert bulletin that we gave you, the mission statement is there, the mission of the church. You may have noticed when you come in on the right-hand side, you see the mission statement of the church. Just about every piece of literature or website we mention our mission statement. And our mission statement, I'm just going to quote one sentence from the mission statement. It says, "We strive to be mutually supportive of the personal spiritual journey, respecting the individuality of all, and accepting the value of meeting people wherever they are on that journey." Well, given that mission statement, which we take quite seriously, we meet people at all different places on their spiritual journey. So for instance, a number of you brought food this evening. We thank you for that. That goes to St. Gerard Mejia's Roman Catholic Church in Terryville. They feed about 200 families. So we meet people both here and at St. Gerard through our food ministry. Also, the doors of this church are open every day. And one of the hats I wear at All Souls, in addition to this hat, which I'll explain later, is I open the doors. And it's not unusual when I open those doors that there's someone waiting to come in. So we're open every day. So we meet people there. We also meet people in our Native American drumming program. So once a month we have Native American drumming up at our parish house. The Native American who leads the drumming is also, it's interesting, he's a chiropractor as well. So he talks not only about the metaphysical experience of Native American drumming, but also some of the science behind it. And I have to tell you, we had an interesting challenge in terms of meeting people wherever they are. The Christians will know we just came out of Holy Week, and you've got all those series of special services leading up to Easter Sunday, and it was Holy Thursday. But that was the night that we did drumming. So do we say, hey, do we do Native American drumming the same night that we do Holy Thursday? And I talked to Father Tom, our priest, and we concluded that the people who come to Native American drumming are at a very different point in their spiritual journey than the people who don't come on Thursdays. And we minister to both, because we do take seriously meeting people where we are. So we meet people through the drumming program. We also meet people through our poetry program. We've got a poetry program, the second Saturdays. It's always, no one ever calls on this one, it's always the second Saturday. Second Saturday's poetry series. We've been doing that for about almost 8 years now. And Gladys Henderson, the former poet laureate of Suffolk County, said that poetry is just another form of prayer. So every time we do one of those monthly poetry series, I'm reminded of that. Also, so drumming, poetry, and our concerts, we do them once a month. We also do, there's things we do during the week as well. So we do, our cameraman, Tom Brownworth and I, he's from the Zion Lutheran Church. He and I together do an interfaith morning prayer service here every Tuesday morning. And again, a day that begins with prayer is a good day. And it is truly an interfaith service. We bring in clergy from all denominations, including our Jewish, had a number of rabbis in. We've had Rabbi Benson, we've had Rabbi Gray, we've had Imam Abdullah from the Selden Mosque. We truly are an interfaith, and we ask the visiting preacher to go wherever the Holy Spirit sends them. Just don't let them send you on a journey of more than 10 minutes, because it's a 30-minute service. So for some people, that's an adjustment. So we meet people there, and we also meet people. My wife, Susan, who will double as our bartender tonight, she leads an interdenominational rosary as well on Wednesdays. Many people think only Roman Catholics do the rosary. That's not true. Anglicans do the rosary, Greek Orthodox do the rosary, lots of people do the rosary. So we put together an interdenominational rosary. And the last thing I'll mention when we meet people Notice I had one to match my suit, kind of not exactly the right color. Some of you found the chairs a challenge. And you don't have to nod your head if you did. Some of you at some point are going to ask for the first time, where is the bathroom? And I'm not going to point you to the woods. I'm going to point you down the Schnitzels. So Herb Moniz is leading a project to make this church handicapped accessible and to put a bathroom in the back of the church. So hopefully in the next year when you come, we'll have both a bathroom and some type of lift service. I know there are people who wanted to be here tonight who couldn't because we're not yet accessible. So the reason I mentioned that race, we're now going into our 16th year and I have the privilege of being the director of that race, is that race celebrates the role of the things we do in the community, and it also raises funds to make the church accessible and put the bathroom in. And we've raised about $100,000 over the last 5 years to do that. So that's how we meet people. So again, on behalf of the church, on behalf of Father Tom, our priest, my privilege to welcome you here. The program tonight will have 2 sets of 15 minutes, there'll be a 15-minute break in between. We always allow time at the end for questions, so you have questions and answers. And Sue, you want to hold up that jar there? So there is no admission charge, but if you'd like to thank these 2 very talented musicians, Steve, thank you. You'll see me counting it, but that money, whatever you put in there, goes directly to them. I have to count on the CPA, I gotta count things, but that goes directly to them. And we will get you out of here before 8 o'clock for your dinner plans. If you would like to be on the Friends of the Church list, you know, people, one of the other hats I wear here is I'm the membership chairman, and people often ask me, how many members do you have? Well, if you count babies who are recently baptized in that baptismal fund, and you include some of our older residents in nursing homes, we've got just under 100. But if you include people like yourselves that we have a relationship in the community with all those outreach programs we have, we're approaching 1,000 people. And those 1,000 people get notices every time we do a concert, every time we do a poetry reading, every time we do drumming, every time we do special events, they get invitations. So if you want to be on that list, I'm a firm believer in color, so it's in yellow. Just put your name and email here and I'll be happy to add you to our list. And I'll leave that up here, you can do that in intermission. Now, let me introduce tonight's group. They'll appear on stage in a moment. So we're privileged to welcome back the Becker Lessard guitar duo. These 2, if they seem like they play together pretty well, well, they played extensively as both a duo and part of the Artesian Guitar Quartet for over 10 years, and they've toured Canada, the United States, and England. Harris Becker, one half of the duo. It'll be easy to recognize who's who. Harris Becker has had a rich and varied career as a guitarist and lutenist. He's director of guitar studies at LIU Post, professor of guitar at Nassau Community College, and has been on the faculty of the Aaron Copland School of Music at Queens College. Mr. Becker is also co-founder and artistic director of the Summer Music Festival in rural Quebec. My Spanish is better than my French. Sangue des en Musique. Laura Lessard is the daughter of the very famous composer John Lessard. She began her guitar studies at the age of 13 in Florence, Italy. Not a bad place to start. In addition to her work as a performer, Laura has been on the faculty of the Bronx House Music School, the Guitar Workshop, the Bay School of Music, the Sangue des Music Festival, and the Ustan Center for the Performing Arts. She was also a founding member and artistic director of the Oberon Foundation, a nonprofit organization devoted to promoting the arts and the artists of Long Island. Interesting in terms of our history of our church, I'll get it right this time. This church is on the National Registry of Historic Places, and one of the reasons why it is because it was designed by probably the most famous architect at the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, Stanford White. And among other things, Laura Lessard is Stanford White's great-granddaughter. So let's welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. These are a group of pieces we're playing on the lute. These are Renaissance lutes, and the music is from the Renaissance. And the lute itself, during the Renaissance, was as popular as the guitar is in the present. Like there were lutes everywhere. And Renaissance lute can have up to from 6 to 8 sets of strings, which would have 8 sets of strings. Like this is an what they call an 8-chord lute. This lute has 15 strings on it. When you get to the Baroque period, like the time of Bach and things, the lutes get even bigger with more strings and so forth. So all this music we're playing was originally written for the lute. The next few pieces by John Dowland, he was probably the most renowned and could be some considered probably the greatest lutenist of the day. We don't know, we don't hear, but we can just tell by the music he wrote. And improvisation is a big part of lute music. This next piece called The Frog Galliard appears in different settings. It appears as a song for voice and lute. It appears as a solo lute piece. It appears as a consort piece, which means for an ensemble, kind of like a Renaissance band that would include sackbuts and crumhorns and various string instruments, viola da gambas and so forth, viols, and lutes and percussion and so forth. This arrangement that we kind of made is taken from the arrangement that was for a lute and consort. And what we did was, at times I'm playing the sauterne part, which was another string instrument in the Renaissance. And then at other times I'll switch and I'll play some of the divisions or the improvisations from the lute solo. Improvisation was a big part of Renaissance music, and I'm sure that Dowland and other lutists never played the same thing the same way twice. I mean, it's supposed to be like a jazz thing, they would just improvise all the time. So this is the Frog Galliard.
This last piece is also by Dowland. It's called My Lord Willoughby's Welcome Home. Often they would hire Dowland to write a piece for a special occasion. So I guess my Lord Willoughby was coming home, and they decided to write a piece to celebrate that for when he came home. And this is for 2 weeks. It's one of the few actual lute duets that Dowland wrote. Okay, so the next piece we're going to play is by Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco. He was a very well-known Italian composer, and he wrote these preludes and fugues in the style of Bach. And but he was 20th century, but he did a whole series of preludes and fugues for two guitars in the style. So this is Prelude and Fugue number 3. And we actually, last year, I think we played a different set, a different Prelude and Fugue by him.
The next piece by Sergio Assad is called Farewell. Sergio Assad is part of the duo, the Assad brothers. They're two Brazilian guitarist brothers who started playing around the world in the early 1980s, and it was just astonishing, the ensemble they have and musicality and so forth, and kind of raised the bar in terms of duo playing and so forth. And Sergio, besides being a great guitarist, is a great arranger and composer. And these days he's writing so much music in all kinds of genres, meaning solo guitar, two guitars, and so forth. So this is a little piece that he wrote a while back called Farewell.
So the next, I'm going to play 3 movements from a cello suite by Bach, first cello suite. And these So I'll play the prelude and the allemande and the courant. The allemande and the courant were basically based on girls' dances of the time. I don't think if there's anything else I need to say about it, but I don't think so really. It just lends itself nicely to the guitar because of the range, and Bach didn't write anything really for the guitar at all. So guitarists are constantly just, trying to find music wherever they can. So this is first cello suite, and just prelude, allemande, and chords.
Just a few things before we break for intermission. So our tradition here to share one story from the history of the church. Now the church has been here since before the Civil War, and this building in Stony Brook Village has been here since 1896. So I often like to tell my good friend Gloria Rocchio, we were here 100 years before Ward Melville sold his first shoe. So we've been here a long time, and thinking how much the village has changed since then, but we haven't changed. The church has been, in fact, the church, this is pretty much the original construction. The organ used to be cranked. I don't know if they took someone who had committed many sins who's given the job of cranking. That was air-fed. But that's about it. And I think the heating system that we had to put in used to be fed by coal. Now we put in a heating and air conditioning gas-fired system about 20 years ago. So the one story I want to tell you, if you look in the back of the church with the help of my capable assistant here, you see something that you may have been here before and never noticed. And if this is your first time, you're saying, what is, if you recognize the symbol, you're saying, what is that doing in a Christian church? So anyone who doesn't recognize that symbol, that's Chai, the Hebrew word for life. And this figures prominently in Jewish scripture and culture. In the mystical Kabbalah, it is the emanation of God linked to motivation. Chai appears prominently in the Torah, in the book of Leviticus, and the book of Deuteronomy. The Shema prayer, which many Jews say daily, speaks to the importance of Chai, to live and walk in the Jewish cultural lifestyle. The Hebrew letters, and you find the Hebrew letters of Chai there. So I picked that one because we're just completed Easter. Our Ramadan, I believe, is on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending upon the moon. And then we've got followed by Passover. So we celebrate the three Abrahamic faiths. So that window is not only significant in terms of Jewish culture and Jewish beliefs. It's also very significant in terms of world history. So 5 days after the liberation of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, the first open Jewish ceremony held on German soil was led by British Army chaplain Leslie Hardman. With people still dying around him, the survivors sang what has become the Israeli national anthem. And at the end of the service, Rabbi Harmon shouted out, "Hi, the people of Israel are alive." So we know, those Christians in the group know that Jesus was a Jewish carpenter. And the scriptures we read during our Mass always include those found in the Torah. Every service will include psalms that we cite, and those were written by King David, most of them. And we know Jews, Christians, and Muslims are all spiritual children of Abraham. So it's quite natural that this important symbol of our Jewish brothers and sisters is always with us here at All Souls. Now there's also a history associated with that window. It was not part of the original construction. So it looks like it was original construction with a little triangle that they made. That was given to All Souls by the family of Samuel Seabury. So the serious Episcopalians in the room will know that Seabury was the first ever presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church of the United States. His family presented that as a gift to All Souls. And it came from the old Brook Church, you can Google it, on 14th Street in New York City, when that church was torn down and they needed a home for the window. They sent it to us. So a little bit of the history. Okay, now as we go into intermission, a couple of things to bear in mind. Looks like I got my voice back. The contributions, Sue, hold up the bucket there. Contributions to the musicians, you'd like to leave them, thank you, put it there. The Friends of the All Souls list, if you want to get invited to events that we have at the church. A round of applause for our bartender, Susan. She also doubles as our leader of Youth to Faith Rosary as well, so she's balanced. So the wines we're serving tonight, we've got a Chenin Blanc from New Zealand, which I'm told is quite good. And we're previewing for the first time, I look forward to your feedback, the Cabernet Sauvignon from California. Less all you think we do here is drink wine at All Souls. There's water available as well. I feel like a flight attendant. There are trash bins here and back there, here and back there. And we do not have a pretentious person with a triangle to let you know that the break is over. So we'll take just under, I'm sorry, I'll wear my tuxedo next time we bring a triangle. I don't think so. So what we'll do is I only say we're going to ring the bell, but I don't think the bell is fixed yet. So I'll ring a portable bell. We have a backup bell, and I'll dim the lights. So we'll take about a 15-minute break, and we'll see you after intermission. Thank you. And the sign up. So whatever he did, I'm sure he was well intentioned. So thank you for coming back for the second act. There are a couple of, you're all VIPs to us, but there's a couple of VIPs I'd like to point out in the audience. So actually, the church is led by two wardens. So we have Victoria Almash. You want to wave your hand? Just wave to get Victoria. And we've got Herb Motors over here. Herb is the only one who gets his name in the paper more than Jonathan Conrad. Herb, and also, is he here? Yes. You know, there are some people who are so famous they just go by their first name. So you have Pele, you have Madonna. We are fortunate to have with us the internationally known Brazilian guitarist, Octavio. Octavio? Wave. Many of you have regulars. You know, he's performed here now a couple of times, and we look forward to hosting him again next year. So without further ado, let's welcome back the Becker and Lessard guitar duo.
The first two pieces I like to play are by Albéniz. He never wrote anything for the guitar, and oftentimes a lot of his pieces are recognized by hearing them on the guitar. For instance, Asturias and things like that. A lot of his music, obviously he was Spanish, and he uses the inflection of sometimes flamenco music and so forth. The first piece, Capriccio Catalan, is a solo piano piece. And the same with Cadiz, but that Cadiz comes from the Suite Española, which is a series of pieces that Albéniz wrote for piano that depict different cities in Spain, like Cadiz in this case is one, Granada, Asturias, and so forth. So the first two pieces I'll play by Albéniz. The next piece I like to play is by a composer by the name of Carlo Domeniconi. Carlo is one of the most prominent guitar composers living and playing in the present, along with people like Sergio Lessard. And I want to mention that a lot of the music on the concert tonight was written for the guitar. I think the only things that are really transcriptions, arrangements, are the two pieces I just played, and obviously the arrangements of the Beatles songs. So Carlo is very prolific, and I've had the good fortune of getting to know him in the late 1990s, where he came and actually, amazingly, that people were playing his music all over the world, and he had never played in the US, and he made his US debut at the Guitar Festival. And we maintained this really great friendship. He's played many times on the Guitar Festival, and a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, was the 30th anniversary of the festival, and I asked him if he might like to write a little piece. So actually he wrote two pieces, a cello and guitar piece, and this solo piece.
by Stephen Goss, a contemporary composer. It's in 3 movements. We'll play it straight through in 3 movements. They're all about water. The name of the whole piece is River Fragments. So the first movement is waterfalls, and you'll hear the water moving. You know, in the second movement, it's very slow. It's called Deep River, and I think you'll be able to imagine this sort of like a glassy top on the river, just moving very slowly. That's the slow movement. The last one is called Castle in the Air. And I haven't been able to figure that out, but living on a river myself, the only thing I could come up with was that I've noticed in the early morning on the river, there are often these wisps of clouds that hover above the river, and they almost look like castles, and then they burn off quite quickly once the sun comes up. But that's my theory for the last movement. But we can have a debate about that at the end of the concert. See if you come up with something else. So it's River Fragments. I believe he was born in Australia, right? Stephen Goss?
I'm not sure.
But he lives in England now, Stephen Goss.
the last two pieces we'll play are two arrangements of two Beatles songs, Eleanor Rigby and She's Leaving Home by the great contemporary composer Leo Brouwer. Brouwer has written loads of solo music, ensemble music for guitars. He was a fantastic guitarist, and plus he's done all these arrangements, and I believe there are 10 of these Beatle arrangements that he had done. So I think you'll enjoy them. I'd like to also thank the church for having us here again. It's always a pleasure to play in this little space, and thank you very much.
Just a couple of things before we head out. Just to remind you, if you want to, the frog is back in my voice. If you'd like to leave a thank you for the musicians, you put it right there. If you'd like to be on our invitation list for our events, concerts, poetry readings, Native American drumming, please put your name and email here. And I'm proud to announce the next 3 concerts. So May 4th, we have a group from the university, the Voyager Quintet, 5 musicians will be back. June 1st, we have the Stephen Gorgon String Duo. And on July 6th, we do something very unusual. Not unusual for us, but unusual. What we do is we combine Native American drumming, we combine poetry, and we combine music. And we call it Conversations on the Sacred. So we've got sacred readings, and each sacred reading is followed by an interlude, either with a Native American drummer, or students from the university, or Dan Kinney, our organist, playing heads on this 200-year-old organ. So we hope to see you at one of our events. Thank you for coming.